guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Tita Lavinia of Tita's Pageantry, and for this episode, I will be giving you a year-end special by looking into the scandals, the triumphs, and everything in between for 2021. So please make sure you stick around, please subscribe to the channel, as well as hit that bell notification button for your weekly pageant fix. So, if you're ready, fasten your seatbelts. We're now going to talk about the scandals, the triumphs, and everything in between in pageantry in 2021. So, at number 10, the age issue. Now, the topic on age has been the talk of everyone all throughout the year, whether we're talking about someone who aged out or someone so young we feel that she's inexperienced to hold a position. So very early on, as early as January, Miss International made an announcement that they won't be extending the courtesy of raising the age limit to 29 to accommodate the ladies who aged out in 2020. Now, we all know that in 2020, Miss International did not host a pageant. So we sort of thought that they would be more considerate because, you know, these weren't the ladies' fault anyway if they aged out since the pageant was not held in 2020. But just a few weeks right after that announcement, they made another announcement saying that they won't be hosting a pageant in 2021, making them the only pageant who postponed for 2 consecutive years. Now, if the ladies aged out in 2020 could not compete and the ladies who aged in 2021 could not compete, then this definitely impacted one of the heavy favorites for the Binibining Pilipinas international title at that time. I'm talking about Philippine pageantry favorite, Vickie Rushton. Now, Vickie has paid her dues. We feel that she is perfect for the part. She has the looks, she has the demeanor, as well as the behavior, and you know, we all pinned our hopes on her as our ticket to that 7th crown at Miss International. But unfortunately, she had to bow out of the competition because there really was no room for her to compete, as she was about to turn 29 at that time. That was really pretty sad for us, and I'm sure it was also pretty sad for Vickie, who also made an official statement on how she felt about bowing out of the competition. Now, this was also the same case with Abesamis, who inherited the title of Miss Grand International when this was vacated by Samantha. When Aya inherited the title of Miss Grand International, we knew that she wouldn't be able to compete because in 2020, Miss Grand International did not host the final show. Now, our hopes went up a little bit because they announced that they would be hosting a show early in 2021. So we were really thinking that this was actually Aya Abesamis' chance to really go into it. But again, Aya was turning 29 at that time and unfortunately had to relinquish her position and make room for a slightly younger Samantha Bernardo, who was just about to reach the age limit at 28. So Samantha was of course given the opportunity to represent us at Miss Grand International, but yes, there was a time that Aya was actually being considered to be sent to Miss Grand International. So as of talks of being too young in the competition, these surfaced during the time of Rabiya Mateo. We all felt that she was too young, too inexperienced, that the best that we could do was really make a lalay. But the thing was, this was dispelled when Harna Sandhu of India just very early this December won the 3rd crown of India at Miss Universe at only 21 years old. Number 9, appointments and prep work. Now, all throughout the year, we encountered hashtags saying Team 9 days, Team 20 days. And this was because for Team Philippines, we encountered one of the more rare occurrences called appointments, because in the Philippines we've always had the national pageants who are in charge of sending the ladies to the respective international competitions. But things had to change a little bit because this time around we had to have a more flexible arrangement in terms of selecting the ladies for the competition. So this was something that was new to us, but it was also something that we might explore a bit further because those who were appointed this year actually did quite well. Now, in terms of prep work, I think a lot of us had lots of things to say about the prep work of some of the ladies. Some of the ladies had ample time to prepare. Others, like Samantha Bernardo, who had like 20 days, and Emmanuel Vera, who had like 9 days to prepare for her competition. I think that it's really commendable for the ladies as well as their glam team as well as the people behind them, because to make us pageant ready, even at our worst, we are still considered the best when it go to these international competitions. And even with, you know, ill-fitting clothes, with some of the prep work not quite as polished, but I just feel like we have to give a shout out to the Philippine team, because whenever we send our girls, even if we're hypercritical here in our country, they seem to fare really well out there, because this is the standard that we've already set for ourselves. So I'm really glad that even with the shorter period of time for preparation, even with not having all of the prep work done according to our taste, according to our standards, our girls were still doing really, really well. Our girls were still making a huge impression on the international pageant scene. Number 8, COVID-19. Now, of course, the pandemic is still within us. I think that we would be cocky to think that we can get away with the pandemic. The threat of COVID will disappear just because they gave us something really glossy. In fact, the threat of COVID was just so evident at these international pageants that Miss World had to cancel altogether and, you know, see the girls just 90 days after having all of the festivities in Puerto Rico for about a month. Now, this was more recent, but what I'm talking about is the case that happened with Kelly Day when she competed at Miss Eco International in Egypt early this year, because this was really a reality check for us when we found out, as she was outed by the Peruvian national director as testing positive when she competed at Miss Eco International. Now, this was, of course, embarrassing, not just for the organization in Egypt, but also for the organization here in the Philippines, because this was also one of the reasons why I'm not so warm in covering Miss World Philippines, because I think that the whole situation was just handled so poorly that she kept mum about the whole thing. Miss World Philippines issued a statement, and unfortunately it wasn't enough for us, because the impression it had on us, we felt that it was just really irresponsible just so they could get the Filipino clout by allowing Kelly to compete even if she was evidently sick during that finals night. Number 7, Rabiya Mateo at Miss Universe. So when Rabiya won the title in 2020, the very first Miss Universe Philippines title, we were very hopeful, of course. We were skeptical, but we were also very hopeful, and we knew that she was young. She was a provincial lass that was plucked from the province to be groomed as the next Miss Universe Philippines representative. So I think a lot of us were really keen on making sure that she gets the proper guidance, and unfortunately her campaign at Miss Universe, although she secured our 11th year streak, was also one of the most talked about, but not for a good reason, because what we were seeing with the whole Rabiya campaign was someone who started out really promising, vibrant, vivacious, and it turned into something that was comparable to a train wreck by the time she competed at Miss Universe. Of course, ending with that very public meltdown on social media. So what I'm just saying is that I'm not going to be rehashing what happened to the whole campaign, because like with everybody else, we were also very supportive. We were also very hopeful. We were also insatiable. We wanted more of her. We demanded more of her. And when she competed at Miss Universe with all of her physical transformations complete, I think that not everybody was on board with how she looked like and how she totally transformed. But we still had a responsibility, of course, to support our girl at Miss Universe. And even if we weren't really demanding for more, there were just so many materials on her, and this messed up our brains, this messed up our groove, and you know, we thought that she actually had a fighting chance at bagging a position or bagging a crown, but just everything just seemed going into a direction that was derailing everything, because it seemed that she had so much on her plate. And she did make an allusion that she might have been too engrossed on social media, but it also seemed that there were people around her who was making her feel that way. And I felt that the Rabiya campaign was just something worth talking about for 2021, because this really magnified how negative all this publicity and all this attention is, knowing that we don't seem to have an idea where to start with the support and where to stop with the demand, because it just totally blurred the lines during the time that Rabiya competed. We didn't know whether we were supporting her or pushing her to her limits. Number 6, Miss Earth 2021, Destiny Wagner. Now, when Miss Earth announced that they will again go into a virtual setup, of course, the small and solid group of supporters even became smaller, because not a lot of people are, of course, keen on a virtual setup. I myself am not keen on a virtual setup. It's a little difficult to follow, but Miss Earth seemed to know what they're doing. Miss Earth devoted time to really hone the virtual setup procedure, or the virtual setup arrangement. They really took their time to get to know the ladies, and because Miss Earth is a different type of pageant altogether, they're not really focused into flashy paandars. They really make time to get to know the ladies. So this time around, they did not care whether the lady that they picked has a strong sash factor or has the best paandars or the best videos. They really got into the nitty-gritty and getting to know the ladies, and came about with a winner that's just totally fresh, totally new, totally welcomed. And I'm talking about the lady from Belize, Destiny Wagner. Beautiful, really fresh, young. She is an accomplished author, and coming from a country that doesn't surface in international pageantry, this was definitely a huge deal for Miss Belize at that time. So Belize, if you're not familiar, is a small country in Central America. It's near Guatemala, it's near Mexico. So this is a country that we see from time to time compete at the international pageants, but we never really get to feel them because they hardly ever enter. Their only appearance in international pageantry was a placement in 1979, but they don't get to win any pageants. They don't get to place at the semifinals. So for them to pick Destiny Wagner rightfully, this was a huge deal for the country of Belize. This was a huge deal, of course, for Miss Earth. And I think that because they picked Destiny, even if there was some backlash over the decision to do or host a virtual pageant, I think that bawi-bawi naman sila, because Destiny is someone that was just so well received when she won the title of Miss Earth 2021. Number 5, Miss Universe Canada versus the impalpable Michael Cinco. Now, who don't forget this episode in pageantry, because this was even crazier than the announcement of Andrea Meza as the winner of Miss Universe for the 2020 edition, because this was something that we haven't encountered before. I mean, we have known Sir Michael Cinco as a couture designer, very successful, and you know, we have an impression of him that is on the classy side. He doesn't usually participate in the canalism that we're all very used to in Philippine pageantry. So for him to be caught into this, I don't know, telenovela, this was really a popcorn moment for a lot of us pageant fans, because just to give you a little bit of a background, because it's on Google anyway, the first shots were actually fired by the publicist of Nova Stevens, Miss Canada 2020. So for years, they've had an arrangement of having Mr. Michael Cinco provide clothes for the contestants of Miss Universe Canada. And this time around, Miss Universe Canada organization had a strong candidate. She was statuesque. She had a backstory. She was really aggressive in her campaign, and she looked great in clothes. So a tandem between Michael Cinco and the statuesque Nova Stevens was also something that we anticipated at Miss Universe. But something happened, because during the preliminaries, we actually did not get to see a Michael Cinco gown. And when Nova Stevens ended up with nothing at Miss Universe, this is where things started to heat up. Because the publicist of Nova Stevens, under MG Mode, her, I don't know if that's her agency or her management, made claims on social media that Mr. Cinco did not deliver, that his clothes did not fit. Of course, this prompted the impalpable Michael Cinco to retaliate. And yeah, they were there with receipts. We saw everything. And I don't know, it was just so out of character for Mr. Cinco to hit them with something so burning, but it was also fun to see a more human side of Mr. Cinco and being like one of us, being a little nasty, being a little mean on social media. But in a way, this also opened a discussion on, I don't know, just some behaviors that hasn't been opened before. Because right after the exchange of words between Mr. Cinco as well as members of the Miss Universe Canada team, other reports surfaced that it seemed to be a practice of the Canadian organization to employ the skills and the talents of Filipinos and use their evening wear for their ladies and hold on to them without giving them back for the other contestants to wear, just in case they've already made their choice. So it was a scheme that was revealed to the public, and this definitely caused a rift between the Filipino talents who were always so willing to lend a hand, lend a few sparkly dresses, and of course the Miss Universe Canada organization, who was exposed in using such talent pools to really lift up their girls. Number 4, bullying. Now, bullying was just something that was rampant in pageantry in 2021, but counter-bullying was also something that we saw in 2021. Now, one of the earliest manifestations of bullying was when a designer called out one of the strongest candidates at Miss Universe Philippines after walking that unfinished bridge in an epic passerella showdown. And this designer had a full campaign of bringing this candidate down because of her political affiliations. Now, the candidate, of course, did not respond to it. She might have had some materials because of, some campaigns and events happening in the province, but she did not respond to it. This one spilled over because, I don't know, maybe it was boredom, maybe it was just that empowered feeling of having a voice, having a platform on social media. But there was also a group of vloggers who happens to be personalities in fashion, personalities in pageantry and their respective fields, who felt bold enough in calling out some of the ladies and saying that they're pageant patties and that one of them did not have enough nutrients in her brain. And this was, of course, picked up by a number of people, and this wasn't let go because there were others who really spoke against it. There were beauty queens who spoke against it. There were pageant personalities who weighed in on how this was played out on social media. They were doing quite well on social media. They were doing quite well on YouTube with their pageantry discussions. But yes, knowing that they could say these things freely and knowing that one of them was actually a sponsor even, just did not leave a good taste in everybody's mouths. And so another issue on bullying that was out and about and open was, the situation of the ladies at Miss World Philippines, when one of them even publicly came out by organizing a press conference on the bullying that she received from the inside, not just from the management, but from the group of very specific girls. So this was also something that was pointed out by Getty Krishnan, who eventually bagged the second princess title at Miss World Philippines, who called out a swimsuit designer from Binibining, Pilipinas with his very public statement on her placement. And so I'm just saying that if the bullies this year have been rather bold, then the counter bullies have been bolder as well. And it really focused or put a magnifying glass on certain behaviors, and that this is no longer tolerable, that this is something that we can talk about because everything is now being recorded real time. Number 3 for 2021, the Battle of the Cebuana Beauties. Now, we are rather lucky this year because we were represented by strong Cebuana beauties, and this is Cebu's time to shine. For the past couple of years, we've had a few who went on to represent us at the international pageant scene, but this is the first time that we have both our Miss Universe Philippines and Miss World Philippines from Cebu. So Bea Luigi Gomez bested the other ladies, including heavy favorites such as Katrina Dimaranan, Steffi Rose Aberastori, and even entertainment darling Kisses de Lavine. She bested them all by her calm, cool, and collected demeanor. And she went on in a really successful campaign at Miss Universe. Now, Tracy Maureen Perez, who has been a fixture in pageantry for several years, trying out at Miss World Philippines, trying out at Miss Universe Philippines, and after taking really dangerous falls at that crazy 7-hour final show at Miss World Philippines, Tracy bagged the crown, went on to Puerto Rico in a really quiet fashion because we were so busy with everything else. We were so busy at Miss Universe that we did not realize that Tracy was actually doing so well at Miss World, making her a serious contender for the blue crown, something that we did not even consider. So when they decided on postponing the pageant to 2022, a lot of us were really saddened because Tracy was in her element and she was in her momentum. So this meant that the rightfully chosen Cebuana Beauties of 2021 did us really proud. Number 2 on my list is, of course, the triple win of Team Philippines. I think that this is something that we should be thankful for. This is something that merits #blessed, because in just a few couple of days, we won 3 crowns. So it started out with Faith Garcia, of course, winning Miss Aura International. If you're not convinced because this is a new pageant, that's fine, because, you know, Faith will definitely open the doors, and then we'll see if this is a legit pageant. We'll see if this is something worth our attention in the succeeding years. But Faith definitely opened that for us, and it was such a proud moment because for those who covered Faith and her prep work moving into Miss Aura International, you could really see the Binibining Pilipinas stamp there. You could really see the discipline of Team Philippines whenever we would send our girls in these international competitions. And then, of course, I think this was someone who introduced us to the idea of covering pageants in a chill manner. Because when Cindy Obeñeta went to Egypt, we didn't really have high expectations. We just wanted her to have fun. And we reveled at the fact that when she was there, she had so much fun. She was light, she was bubbly. You know, she had a really nice wardrobe. She looked a lot fresher, a lot more fit when she was in Egypt. And we had no idea that this was going to be rewarded in such a huge fashion. We thought that because she was the Philippines and because she was doing so well that she might be given like a semi-finalist position, but we were rewarded even more when she continued on as our second Miss Intercontinental winner, because as we all know, Miss Intercontinental is also a pageant that's just so hard to crack. So for Cindy to do this for us and win this for us, I think we were all so very happy for this. And then we shifted our focus to Maureen Montaigne. Now, we got a little nervous because out of all of the ladies that we sent internationally, Maureen was just too beautiful to pass. So we felt that, yeah, maybe they're not gonna give this to us because she's just so obvious as a choice. But happily, they came to their senses and we rallied like crazy to raise Maureen's following from like 30-something, 60-something thousand to more than 120,000, because they made an announcement that they want an influencer type, and we rallied behind Maureen for that. And we're just so glad that what we saw was something that they saw in Maureen. So even if we just won our second Miss Intercontinental crown under Binibining Pilipinas, I'm just so glad that this wasn't even a factor in choosing Maureen as the rightful winner at Miss Globe. So what was really nice about this year was that they weren't the only ones who won the crowns. There were the other minor pageants that we won as well. So yeah, I think that this was a really good year in terms of raking in titles and placements for the Philippines. And now we move into my number 1 scandals, triumphs, and everything in between moment. I will be giving my number 1 spot to Samantha Bernardo. And I feel that she should be given this number 1 spot because of her stellar performance. Now, of course, she did not win Miss Grand International. She bagged the first runner-up position, but that doesn't matter because I remember telling everybody that covering her pageant was my most favorite. I think that this was a fight or a competition wherein we were all on the same page. We weren't fighting. We weren't fighting about her styling. We weren't fighting about passing or failing, because we all knew and we all saw that her campaign, even if she had a shorter period of time to prepare, we felt that she had just the best campaign. It was easy, it was breezy. She worked with people she liked. She had a vision, because, you know, she was probably thinking about this for the longest time, and all that was needed was execution. So she had a great group of people behind her, but more than anything else, she absolutely nailed the part. And when she was there, it was just so undeniable. All that pageant training, all that ballet and rhythmic gymnastic training, it all came together. She was one of the most stylish at the competition. She was the hostess with the mostest, and I think she tamed the beast as well. And yeah, she was friendly, she was chatty, but most of all, I think my very, very favorite moment in covering pageantry, at least for 2021 this year, was definitely her pasarela performance. I mean, that will always be in the books for me, because going down the flight of stairs and not looking so poised, with movements that are so precise and so clean, this was just, I don't know, dessert levels for me. So there you go, guys. I absolutely had so much fun in 2021. I got my fair share of craziness as well. I think most of you are still familiar with this, but I decided not to really talk about it too much, because number one, that would give him more attention, and number two, what for? I mean, it's not gonna stop me from doing what I do anyway, and it's not gonna stop him from doing what he's doing anyway. And all I have to do, of course, is just prove my worth and continue with what I do, and just give you contents that are well researched and well presented. And I hope to see more of you in 2022. So for now, I hope that this gave you a great trip down memory lane. So thank you so much, and Happy New Year, you guys. Goodbye.